So this is the before milking process. So the first thing you're going to want to do is, obviously you've got the machine out with the buckets. We'll walk through that in another video as to what exactly that looks like. But I've got the machine out, and what I'm going to do before I start letting the cows in is I'm going to make sure that the area is clean. I see just a little bit of sand, that's fine. When you're done, make sure you're spraying it off, but you're checking for things like poop and whatnot. The other thing is just making sure the stools are set up fine. So we got 2 stools on this side, the other on that side. I'm going to be doing it by myself today. So I'm just worried about the one, but you want to make sure that the other one is looking good or is dry and the rest of it. The next thing is getting the stanchion ready for the cows. I took a little longer this morning to get set up so you can see that they are both rearing and ready to go. I generally start with Selah. It's not a huge deal as to who you start with, but I generally have been starting with Selah, and that's been working out well. The other thing that you're going to want to keep in mind is where the cows are at. So you milk both in the morning and the evening, and they have access to the pasture in the evening. Obviously this is the morning, so they've not been out in the pasture. Generally I keep them separated, so I'll just have one cow in the stanchion and then the other cow out in the gate area. You don't have to do that. The problem you run into is that the other cow gets really curious and comes over and starts sniffing on stuff, trying to see if there's treats around, knocking buckets, getting slobber everywhere. That's what you're trying to avoid, is them agitating both the process and the other cow. So it generally works best to have them separated if at all possible. If you can't get them separated like that, it's okay to try. Just make sure that someone else is there and ready to kind of play defense on the area if necessary. So I know where the cows are at. My area is clean. I've got my milk machine out. I've already gone ahead and plugged it in. There's a little extension cord that just wraps around. You just plug that in. That's good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up my doors. Make sure that you want to make sure that both are unlatched. That's really important. And again here, so the reason that you're going to do that is as you walk through with the treat, you are going to be walking kind of backwards, leading them through. So obviously you want to make sure that everything's opened up so that way you don't get squished in between. All right, so now I've got my 2 cows right here. And so we're going to start the leading in process. So we also need to remove this gate here. See, Selah's very excited. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this. Again, it's usually a little easier because they're not standing here. Like I said, I took a little longer this morning, but it's a good opportunity to show you kind of what they can do if they get a bit ornery. So I'm gonna go ahead and move this and just set it off to the side. Either side's fine, it doesn't really matter. All right, so now at this point, so I've got it open. They're both there. I happen to have a carrot, but I have a carrot in my bucket. I'll try to give you a little different video of leading in on another video, just to show how it could be a little bit more difficult. She's obviously ready, but here I've got my carrot. So I'm going to try and just hide it from Gyra as best I can, because I don't want Gyra trying to come in as well. So just kind of touch it to their nose is fine. Don't let them get it until they're actually in. So I backed up, I quickly closed the door, and now I'm pulling her head all the way through with the treat, and then I'm letting her have it. So now I latch both sides. I'll come around. And I'm going to latch this door as well. Make sure that we're good there. Sometimes the latches can be a bit finicky. You might have to lift up slightly on the door just to make sure that they go in. But I've got Selah. I've got Selah set up. She's in the stanchion. Everything's looking good. So now what I can do is I'm going to go ahead and start my cleaning process. Go ahead and try to set you down in a good spot. Okay, so now I've got Selah in, so I'm starting to look at what's going on here. You want to make sure your seat's dry if you care. Mine was not, so that's fun. But you've got your cleaning bucket. Go ahead and you pull that out, and then you've got your your oils for later in the process. And then I've got my dry towels. So I'm setting my dry towels up here, just kind of up and out of the way. And now you're going to start cleaning the udder. So kind of make sure that your hands get in there as well. Always make sure, it's very important to have your hands as clean as possible before this whole process starts. And also during, we really want, obviously, we want to make sure that the milk is as clean as possible. So that's why we do like a double clean, but it also starts with your hands being clean as well. So please make sure you're washing your hands. We've also got some Castile soap over there on the other side of the fence, kind of by the hay. We have several supplies there. One of them is soap, so please feel free to wash your hands if you at all need to. So we're going to go ahead and the first rag is just going to be like a whole udder clean. You're going to get all the way around as much as you can. So since we're not hand milking today, the most important area is, of course, the udders. You do want to do a check, if you would, around kind of this area. It's not as big of a deal as it was with hand milking, because when you're hand milking, you've got an open bucket, you're squeezing, and as they're shaking, stuff's falling into the bucket from up above. For here, you know, the suction cups stick on the teats themselves, so it is overall a cleaner process, but you still want to make sure that the whole udder area is nice and clean. So the first rag is just the general area cleaning. The second one, you'll actually pull each teat itself. That way you're just making sure that the teat specifically is good to go. Like checking for any dirt. It's pretty visible, especially on Selah. She's got pretty clean teats, so you can tell if there's a lot of dirt on there or not. So those are looking good. The next thing you want to do is just dry your hands and then dry the teats. You know, you're just checking to see if there's any excessive dirt or anything like that. I don't see any dirt, so that's a good sign. So now I'll take that dry towel. I always bring two out. I'll take that one and I set that one up and off to the side, so that way I know it's partially dirty and I don't use it for gyra when I do the main cleaning again. Okay, so now I've got the teats cleaned. I'm gonna go ahead and prime them a little bit. So I'm just gonna pump 2 pumps out, and you're just spraying them out and back. So you just, what that's doing is the hole that the milk is in, you're just wanting to make sure that that's clean and clear. And so you're just spraying it, just making sure it's out and back. All right. For Selah, you don't need the kick bar. She's a fantastic cow. She's very patient. She does a really great job. For gyra, you do need a kick bar, and I'll walk through that when I'm milking gyra. So today, when you start, you're gonna make sure that, let's walk through the machine a little bit. Let me scoot you back just a smidge. I'll walk you through the machine a little bit. All right, so there's a couple things about this machine. I have another video I'm gonna go through and talk in more depth about what's going on, but there's still a couple checks you're gonna wanna do before you start milking. So first off is you'll wanna make sure that this tennis ball in here, that's on the bottom like that. If it gets sucked up and in, you'll start up the machine and you'll be like, well, why is this machine starting or running and the pressure's not engaging? The other thing is when you start it, you'll be seeing this go up to the top of the green. It needs to be in the green somewhere. If you don't see it in the green, then either we need to adjust this, which is unlikely, or something is loose, which is the most likely scenario. So the things that can get loose is this lid. If it's not all the way on, you can see how it's like kind of sort of on, but not really. That will not only will that not engage it, it also could cause it to suck in, and it's not a fun experience. It's hard to get out. It makes a loud noise. So you want to make sure that this whole thing is nice and centered as best as possible. So you want to check all the way around, making sure that it's evenly placed on all the sides. The next part is that you will go ahead and you'll pull this guy up. Let me get out of the sun so you can see a little better. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to pull this up, and so what that's doing is engaging the stopper. So there'll be a vacuum seal from the hose, from the claw, all the way into the can. So that way the entire area is got the vacuum on it, except for the claws. Okay? So that's the stuff that you're checking for before. The other question mark is how are you going to milk. So if you have 2 people, it's easier than if you have 1 person, like I do today. So it's just me. I'm going to show you what it's like with 1 person. Explain the process with 2. It's pretty easy. It's essentially the same thing, you just have help holding it. So since I am by myself, what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and cover up 2 of the claws. And this is something that you'll want to consider doing before you put the cow in the stanchion. Again, if it's I'm just trying to do a video here, but as much prep work as you can before they get in is ideal, so that way they're just not standing. Selah's great at being patient, Gyra's not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cap 2 of these sides. So here's our claw, and as you can think about it, you know, each one goes on a teat, and since there's 2 ways you can actually theoretically do it by yourself. I have only successfully done it once, and it's really hard to do. And what you do, you know, obviously it goes like this. It goes like this, and you want to like squeeze them so that way the pressure is there, and then you can engage it and you can put one on at a time. It's really tricky to do with our cows because their legs are so short. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cap 2 of them, and I'm going to cap the back 2. So what I'm thinking through is it's going to be, the claw is going to be coming in like this, and so I want to cap these back 2 here. So I'm going to go ahead and engage these. So I put the caps on like so, and then I put the other cap on like this. The next step I do, I know it's a bit odd, but it works really well, is I have socks, and I put socks on those two. And the reason I do that is if you don't, they're all flopping around down there, and it just gets dirt and debris and sand on them that you don't need to worry about as much if you've got them covered, which is real nice. We'll still clean them up, and we'll walk through that again in a separate video. But for now, I just got to make sure that the caps are in, so make sure that they're still in. Those will get sucked in when you actually engage the pressure. So I've got those back 2. I've got those back 2 covered up. Okay, so I've got the seal on. I've got my claw ready to go. I've got the cow cleaned. The last thing is there's this little yellow mat that we go ahead and we just set down. This is one of the things you just want to make sure is clean before you start. The reason we do that is, again, just to try and keep it as clean as possible. The whole goal here is to just try to keep things as clean as possible while you're going. So when I start up the machine, I'll show you how I hook it up. Let me see, maybe if I set you in here actually would be better. So yeah, there we go. So I'm gonna set you in. Please don't put yourself under the cow. Again, Selah's really good, but it could lead to hard things if they step or move. So I've got the camera under the cow. So when I start up the machine, which is a switch right here, okay, so it was made in Europe, and I'm pretty sure the switch would go the opposite direction of what we're used to. So when you're turning it, it'll take a second to get used to. Just make sure you don't crank it. You don't crank it too much, okay? So if it's not turning, then you're going the wrong way. Just go the opposite direction. One quick note I just realized as well, you'll want to watch out for the awning. So when I put the cart here, it was not raining, so everything's fine. But if it's raining and things are dripping, you want to make sure that nothing is dripping into your sanitized area, nothing into your buckets. Just keep that as clean as possible. So now we're going to go ahead and set you down here. And I am going to go ahead and start up the machine. So I'm bringing the claw around. You want to make sure that the cord is not wrapped around yourself. So if you have two people, this process is easier. You're just going to take the two, you're going to split it. You're going to split it like this, and you're going to take those two and give them to the other person on the other side. And then these two you would control, and then one of the person presses the button on the bottom. But since we don't have that right now, I'm just going to do it by myself. So I'm going to start up the machine, and you'll be able to hear when the pressure changes, and then you'll know that the vacuum seal has engaged. So try to listen for it, and I'll walk through that in another video as well. So I'm actually not hearing that switch, which is good. So I'm gonna go ahead and check. So I have checked the latch and the claw, and I'm looking at my lid, and I see that it's just slightly off. So I'm going ahead and adjusting my lid right now. I'm gonna start it back up. All right, now I can hear it engage. I can hear the click of the pulsator going as well, so I know that I'm good to go. So now I'm gonna go ahead and release. I'm gonna push this tab here. That will start the suction. Make sure I'm ready to go as best I can. I'll go ahead and attach them. So now you can see it, the milk is flowing. That looks good. Again, this is why I have put the socks down. It's just kind of hold them like that. Just try to keep them not dirty. And so now I'm watching the milk come out of the tubes. Everything looks like it's flowing nice. I'm sorry if you're not able to quite see it in the video. I'm not quite sure yet. But you're watching these for when the milk stops in both of them or in all four of them. The other thing that I've learned, and it's more important on the back teats, is that you don't want to try and lift the claw up, and the reason is it actually will lose the suction around the teat. And so let the claw start dropping, and you might even push on it just slightly to make sure everything's out. Just a gentle nudge, just to make sure that suction's engaged. All right, so this teat is empty, and we've got this one still going. Generally, this one on her side holds the most out of all of them, so I'm not surprised there. It also matters if the calf has been suckling on one of the teats and which one. That one will empty out first before all the rest of them if she's already had them eat it. We're still running. We're still going. All right, so now I see nothing coming out, or next to nothing coming out. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn the machine off. That's just the easiest way to disengage. All right, so I've turned the machine off. I'm gonna go ahead and re-engage my plug at the bottom, my little black stopper. And I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna take these off. So that's good to go. And so now it's kind of a vicarious hold. You're just kind of holding them like this. And then you're gonna re-engage it. And I had to pull my black stop a little bit. I hear that it re-engaged, so I'm good. Again, this is why I've got my socks, so I can just kind of set them down on the yellow thing and not worry about them. So I'm gonna put these on as best I can. These back ones are especially important to make sure they're latched on as well as you can. Because if you don't, they just won't get everything out. So now I'm watching the back ones. The same process. Same process, make sure the milk is flowing. And like I said before, it's really important to make sure that this is around the whole teat. So on the back one, especially this one for some reason, we've noticed that if it's not flowing, you kind of need to pull on it a bit. It's looking okay right now, but just remember, if you don't see anything come out but it looks full, you can definitely tell when it's full and when it's empty. You'll want to pull on it a little bit, and that's re-engaging the suction around the whole teat. As you can see, Selah's starting to move. I've taken a little longer today than I normally would just with the filming, but she's still doing a great job. You know, if there is a reason why she kicks or something like that, it's probably because she has to go to the bathroom. And as long as if you're safe to do so, continue the process. Just try to get it done as fast as possible so she can use the restroom. I can tell we're getting close to when the milk's coming out. It's starting to slow down. This guy looks still a little full. Just make sure it's flowing. Again, sometimes you got to do a gentle nudge if it still looks like there's something in there. I'll give you a little close-up on what they look like empty. It's definitely very visible when they're empty. So this one is done. I can tell it's stopped. I'm just waiting on this one, which I can tell there's a little bit more in there still. So just watching it. You don't want to let it over suck for too long. I think it's uncomfortable for them. And we're almost done. All right, yeah, that looks nice and empty. So they're both stopped flowing, so now I'm gonna turn it off. Just reach behind me, turned it off, and you want to gently pull off. Don't crank them off, gently pull them off. There's still some pressure. So let me show you what this looks like empty. So right here, you can see how it's pretty flat. That looks great. If you're still seeing some bulge in there, that means it didn't get quite all of it. So now I'm going to take the claw. I'm going to try to set you back so you can see me again. You're going to take the claw, and I've got it kind of held up still. So I've been holding it up the whole time. And the reason is when you turn it over, milk comes out, just kind of comes out of the holes there. So you want it, as best you can, you want to dump the milk that's in the claw hose on the ground. You don't want it on your milk machine, etc. Now the next part I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this hose. As you can see, this hose still has milk in it. It's kind of in these I will zip tie these together. I just got a new hose the other day, but as you can see, there's still milk in it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gently put the milk in the bucket. Just drip it into the bucket. Please be careful, because if you lift too hard, then the lid comes off and you end up pouring milk all over the machine. You don't want that. So I've got the claw detached. I'm gonna go ahead, and I always like to just kind of bring it around the handle like this. It just kind of keeps it nice, and there's a little tiny hook that it sits on right there. Okay, so now we got the machine done. Selah's ready to get out. So we do one final cleaning on her. So I grab my clean bucket again. And I'm going to go ahead, and it's a focus on the teats. So this is to make sure that there's no bacteria or thing that gets inside there. That's really the cause of mastitis, is either milk that doesn't come out. So that's why it's very important to make sure all the milk comes out. And then the other cause of mastitis is bacteria that gets into the teat. And so this is our opportunity twice a day to make sure that we've really cleansed the area. So that looks good. And then the next step, I'm going to dry my hands. I'm going to go ahead and grab my oil that I put together, that I walked through in another video. And I want to start applying it directly to the teat first. So put it on each teat. So this should have a bit of a soothing presence for her, and also help keep it clean because it's got the coconut oil in it. We used to use iodine for this process, but we stopped because the calves are eating off of them. And plus it's more natural this way. So now I've put 4 on all the teats, and I'm just going to take a little bit more, and I'm just going to rub it on her udders. So that way it just helps her udders as well. So you want to get both sides, get in the middle, check the back. Make sure you save enough for the second cow, in this case Gyra, as well. So before I let her out, it's a good time for a once over. If there's a lot of bugs, you can grab the bug spray. We keep that by the Castile soap. It's also a good time to check for any wounds or bruises. I'm seeing everything looks okay. There is often wounds around their backside, so she's looking good. But I know Gyra's got a wound right now that we've been putting coconut oil on. So if you need to clean and put anything on it, now is the time to do it. And she is ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure the area is clear of stuff. So move my bucket. I'm gonna go ahead and move my yellow thing, just kind of set this off to the side. And gonna unlatch the latch. And sometimes they come down immediately, and then other times she just kind of hangs out. She's interested in the camera today. So I'm gonna open it, and you kind of have to, unfortunately, it still kind of swings this way. So just kind of keep an eye on that, because I don't want those bolts at the bottom to grab her legs on the way out. But you also want to make sure that your feet are clear of where they're going to step. So having a cow step on you is no fun. It's also the most common way of getting hurt by them. So she's looking good, and now she's going to come on down. The door is staying open, that's good. And she's going to go ahead and step down, and so she's good to go. So now we're done with Selah. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take the milk inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this lid, give it kind of a shake, and I'm just going to hang it by the black hose. Take it up, hang it kind of by the black hose as best you can off the side. Try to make sure nothing's touching the in compartment. You see I've got the ping pong ball not touching anything. It's just touching the outer rim. That's great. The milk is dripping out as much as possible. And then I've got my lid here. So I'm going to take my lid, I'm going to set it on top. I'm going to go ahead and clasp it. Unfortunately, the bucket is not tight enough to be able to pull the wagon with a full bucket of milk. You can get away with it if it's only like a third, but half or more, it'll start splashing out. So I am going to go ahead and I will pick the bucket up. I'll take it inside. I'll pour the milk. I'll show you how to do that in another video, and then we'll get the second cow in.